Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some I know the owner stories.
The first story is called Your House? My parents have owned our beach property for 30 years. They bought it outright in the 80s and flipped it into what is now their retirement property. When I was younger, we only stayed on vacations from school. But about 10 years ago, my mum was tired of the cold and they made the move there permanently. I moved into the other side of the duplex about 2 years ago as I was coming out of a bad time, and being home with my family was both emotionally and financially a win for me. The downside of this property is that while my father installed a driveway, it only fits his car and mum's, so I usually park on the street outside. Since we live in a high tourist area and on the beach, as soon as you step off our stairs, you're officially on the public street, so parking is a complete nightmare. One day, I'm coming home and by sheer luck, I find a spot right outside my door. I pull my car in and I'm getting my things together when a man, who I'll now refer to as Kevin, begins knocking on my window. He said, "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?" I was confused and said, "Parking my car." He said, "You can't park here." And I said, "I'm pretty sure I can. It's public parking." He said, "No, I live here and your car is blocking the stairs to my house." I was even more confused. "I'm sorry? You live here?" I had no idea. "How long have you lived here?" He said, "Why does that matter? It's my house and I'm telling you, you can't park here." At this point, I'm trying not to laugh in his face as I get out of my car and start walking up my front steps. Kevin begins screaming at me to get off his property or he will call the police. My dad, hearing the commotion, comes outside and asks what the problem is. Here is the thing about my dad: I'm the only daughter of a big Italian man. He has little to no patience for anyone even looking at me funny. I don't want this to turn into a bigger thing than it already is, so I just casually inform him that I wasn't aware we had a new person living with us and it would have been nice to be informed. Dad was confused, Kevin is slinking back to his car and I have a really good time laughing. We all had a great laugh about this, and still weeks later bring it up when we need a pick-me-up. The next story is called This Guy Learned His Lesson. My dad had started a really successful career with one of the major employers in my city. He got himself established here, then followed his job through a spin-off, and then a buyout, which had him moving states a couple of times before he retired about 10 years ago. At that time, he moved back to my city, and that's when his mental decline started. For my part, I've been living here all the way along, creating my own successful career in a hotel chain. In recognition of my contribution to the company, and my dad's contribution to this city, one of our local hotels decided to name one of their meeting rooms after him. A nice honor, which the family and his company were happy to agree to. Now that travel is starting to pick up a little bit, the hotel finally decided to have an event for officially naming the room after my dad. I went to the grab and go luncheon the hotel sponsored in his honor. I spoke, the hotel's general manager spoke, and a representative from my dad's old company spoke. It was a good event. When we were social distantly gathering before the speeches, though, I noticed one guy in the room who looked kind of familiar. I couldn't quite place him until somebody from our local press named him. This guy was our local state senator. I happened to overhear this guy talking to a newspaper reporter, saying, "I know the honorary really well. We've been having regular lunch for the last several years. I'm glad he's finally getting the recognition he deserves." I couldn't resist. I walked up to the senator and the reporter, and introduced myself as the honorary son. I said, "You say you've been having regular lunch with my dad for a few years? That's amazing." "You bet," said the clueless politician. "He's donated a lot to my campaign and I'm happy he's finally getting this ceremony. By the way, where is he? He and I need to catch up with our golfing. I'm surprised he's not here yet." To which I answered, "I'm equally surprised you didn't show up at his funeral last August." The reporter couldn't stifle an open sarcastic laugh. I didn't have to ask the guy to leave. If anybody could personify the phrase "slinking out the door," this guy was it. The third story is called That Guy. I was the general manager of the local branch of a national chain sports bar that specializes in a single part of a bird. I had only been there for a couple of months, but I had established some local rules on when the sound for sporting events would be on, and when the jukebox was available. An hour before games, a large sign was put on the jukebox, warning people that we would soon be switching the sound over to the sporting event. And since the jukebox was controlled by an outside vendor, we could not issue refunds. One night, during a World Series game, a guy called me over to the table to complain. He had just put a bunch of money in the jukebox and wanted the sound switched over. I referred him to the sign and apologized. "I can't offer a refund." He got all huffy, then demanded to speak to the GM. I introduced myself as such. He then said that I needed to call the regional director, whom he knew by name. And I tell him that he was here and needs a refund. So I did. The conversation went something like this. Hi, regional director, I have a guest here named Idiot. He just put $10 in the jukebox even though we have sound on the game, and the sign is up warning people that there would be no refunds. And the regional director said, that guy? He used to be a manager there. He's a thief, he's a complete waste of skin. Throw him out of the restaurant. So I told him that I will do that. I went back to the table, with the guy's bill in hand, no refund. I told him that he is no longer welcome in the restaurant, we would be packing his food up to go, and if he didn't pay, the police would be called, and that the regional director insisted. He left, yes, he paid his bill, and spent the next week trying to get hold of the director, who ignored all of his calls. The last story is called, I Will Tell Your Boss About You. So I run a small little business from the local farmer's market. I'm an artisan and specialize in toys made of yarn. I'll first say that after 5 years of doing this, I have learned one fact. Most people assume that yarn-related hobbies are dying hobbies, that young folk don't do them, which is wrong, they are huge. They were before the world stood still and seem even bigger now. So I get a lot of older folks who are shocked that I know what I'm doing when the stuff I do is rather easy to learn and pick up. It's hardly advanced stuff. In fact, I teach beginner classes on the side. Anyway, so on one quiet day, I am vending. When it's quiet like this, I am usually busy making new products and also listening to an audiobook with one earbud in my ear. When someone approaches, I pause and discreetly take out the bud and put it down, not a big deal. It's my job and I take it seriously. I just need something while I work. My hobby is often one done while watching TV. So I do this and this older woman, maybe in her mid-40s, approaches. She notices me, I pause and take out my earbud. Most people don't see that as they are looking at the product, but she has been staring at me. I smile at her and greet her. She ignores me and then looks down at the product. She picks them up and studies them and is nodding her head, then she says, Catherine's work always impressed me. I have no idea who Catherine is. There is also a huge sign behind me with my business name and my name in full. I stare for a moment, wondering if she saw someone nearby named Catherine, but I know all the other vendors and no one is named Catherine. So I asked who is Catherine. She looks at me like I'm an idiot and says, your boss. I tell her I don't have a boss, that I'm the owner. I explain that I made all this product myself and I have no employees. She shakes her head and tells me that no, I didn't make any of this product and I need to stop lying. I motion to the half-done product in front of me that I have been working on all morning. She scoffs and says that clearly is garbage in comparison to Catherine's work. She says that she's going to contact Catherine and tell her that her employee is claiming her work. And then she tells me I'm a terrible person and just leaves. I am so confused and tell my table neighbor a bit later as we joke about rude customers we have all the time. Well, turns out she knows who Catherine is. She did another yarn-related hobby and sold her work. That was over 20 years ago and she retired 10 years ago. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.